Now, within any Kung band, as you might expect for foraging societies, people make a living by hunting and gathering. Generally, men hunt and gather a little, women gather and sometimes hunt a little. Women do more housework than men, cleaning and cooking and so on, and they also do more of the child rearing. The actual amount of time spent doing all these things, however, tends to be about the same for men and women. Hunting is a very time-consuming activity among the Kung. The way they do it requires many, many more hours than gathering food. And so you tend to find the amount of labor done by men and women tends about to even out. Whether you're a man or a woman, however, you really don't work all that much compared to us. The average Kung adult spends about 45 hours a week on subsistence tasks. That's about what most of us spend just on our jobs, not including the commute or things like shopping and cooking and cleaning. Men don't hunt every day, and sometimes men will go months without hunting. Women gather vegetables perhaps 3 or 4 days a week. That leaves a lot of leisure time to sit around, gossip, tell stories, play with children, and so on. Now, hunting among the Kung is a lot different than the hunting that you may be used to in American society. When Americans go hunting, they generally take guns, which kill the prey pretty instantly. There's a big boom, and if you're a good shot, the animal falls down dead. The Kung don't have firearms, even if they could make them, which they can't. They couldn't make the ammunition for them, right? As we couldn't make the ammunition, we acquired that through trade. Hunting among the Kung is primarily based on poison, using a variety of poisons that are derived from beetles. They have very small bows that they use to shoot very small arrows, and they shoot them at large animals. The arrow isn't itself a weapon, like a bullet or a knife. The job of the arrow is simply to deliver the poison, which is the thing that kills the animal over a long period of time. The animal runs off after it's shot, of course, and the skill of the hunter lies largely in tracking the animal, sometimes over the course of days, until it dies. This is an intensely sensible form of hunting for people in this ecosystem. It requires only a very light, very small technology, which is easy to make and easy to replace if it breaks. It's a very low risk, right? You're not charging up to a dangerous animal with a spear, which is something that could easily get you killed yourself. So in that sense, it's a safe and it's a manageable kind of hunting. It does require, however, a phenomenal knowledge of the ecosystem. You have to be able to track an animal, sometimes for days, over hard, dry ground. You can't just follow tracks because there may not be any. You have to know the animal. You have to know its habits, where it's likely to go, what the resources it wants are, and where they're likely to be found. Right? The only way to know all that, the only way to have the kind of familiarity with the ecosystem that's required for this is to grow up in it. And I think it's very unlikely that anyone who didn't grow up doing it would have a chance to be successful with this kind of hunting. Now, gathering, which is done primarily by women, draws on a lot of different foods. The most prominent one of these is mongongo nuts. Mongongo nuts are pretty common in the Kalahari, and there are lots of them around, even when it's pretty dry. You wouldn't want to eat them all the time. They don't taste that fantastic, but they are nutritious, and their presence means that you're not going to starve. Indeed, while the Kung tend to look to Americans like the poorest people in the world, right? They live in grass huts, they hardly have any clothes, they don't have cars or air conditioning or iPads or something like that. They were traditionally extremely well off when they lived as hunter-gatherers. They were healthy, they lived in groups of people they got along with, they had plenty of leisure time, and they always had plenty to eat. It's hard to find many modern societies that can say that for their entire population. It's certainly not true for ours. Now, a basic value in this subsistence system is reciprocity. That's what makes it all work. We're going to be talking about reciprocity next time, the idea of economic exchange that consists of people giving gifts to one another. The Kung give things away all the time. When a hunter makes a kill, for example, he doesn't just sit down and eat it. He brings it back to the village and shares it with the band. If it's a large kill, one that's too big for him to carry, there's kind of an etiquette to this. His parents and in-laws get a large share of the food. His brothers and sisters also get a significant share. His cousins get a slightly smaller one, and so on and so on. There are very specific rules for who gets what. There's also something called the rule of arrows. Men mark their arrows, men make arrows, and they put marks on them so you can tell whose are whose, and they share them with each other. So any man walking around doing hunting probably has arrows from half a dozen different men in his quiver. Now, when you go hunting, whoever made the arrow that killed the animal is actually the official owner of the kill, which means that there are more people to share in it when the kill is brought back. Now, we'll talk about why this works so well next time. I'd just like to mention here that doing this requires constant training and sharing from childhood up. There are lots of rules and cultural mechanisms to get people used to the idea of sharing everything they have. Just for example, men don't hunt every day. Part of the reason for that is that some men are better hunters than others. If everyone went out hunting every day, then over time, some men would be bringing in more game than others. And as a result, they would be giving away more food than other people. The other men would not be able to return gifts to them in the same quantity. The exchange would feel unbalanced. It wouldn't feel reciprocal. And the men who didn't bring in as much food would feel bad about that. So as a result, if a man is successful hunting for a few days in a row, he'll find a way not to hunt for a while. He'll say that he's sick, or that he's tired, or that he hurt his leg, and he will stop hunting until other men have had a chance to catch up. And when he does get a major kill, he doesn't brag about it. He doesn't charge into the camp and say, "Whoa, come see what I shot." No. He'll walk in nonchalantly. He'll sit down at the fire. He'll chat with people, and he'll wait for somebody to ask how the hunt went. And then at that point, he'll casually mention, "Oh, I caught something out there. And, I could actually use a hand bringing it back if that's okay." Remember, the Kun aren't starving. The thing they need most isn't to bring in more stuff to eat. They've got stuff to eat. What they do need, more than anything else, is to get along with one another. And that's what they prioritize. Now, by the way, there is one person who doesn't share it all very well, if you read in the book that we're about to look at, and that is Nisa herself. She is actually terrible at sharing. She says herself that she's a selfish person. She doesn't like to give her things away. Lots of the stories she tells involve people yelling at her for being selfish. And to tell the truth, as you read the book, you may find that while Nisa tells you a lot of fascinating things, you're kind of glad that you don't live with her. To tell you the truth, that's not too unusual in anthropological fieldwork. Most people in a society don't have a lot of time to talk to anthropologists. They've got jobs, they've got friends, they've got family, they've got children, they've got all kinds of responsibilities that are more important than talking about culture to some American graduate student. If somebody's got a lot of time to talk to you, there's often a reason, and in some cases, it's because nobody else can stand them. Now, whether that has implications for the accuracy and bias of anthropological research is something that may be worth considering as you read books like Nisa and some of the other things that we're going to cover during the semester.